Okay, so you want to own a podcast studio. Soundproof rooms with professional microphones, acoustic panels on the walls, glowing LED strips, clients recording interviews and storytelling shows, creators paying you $150 to $400 per session. You are the infrastructure behind the podcast boom. Every entrepreneur, influencer, and thought leader needs what you have built. Sounds like the perfect creator economy business. And honestly, from the outside, it really does look that way. But here is what people who actually own profitable podcast studios know, and what most people watching YouTube studio tours never tell you. A podcast studio is not a room with microphones that people rent by the hour. It is a service business disguised as a real estate play, competing in a market where 90% of podcasters record from home using $200 in equipment and get 80% of the quality for 5% of the cost, where your client acquisition depends entirely on local market density and most cities cannot support more than 2 or 3 commercial podcast studios profitably, where a $75,000 build-out depreciates to near zero value within 5 years while technology changes make your gear obsolete, and where the difference between a $180,000 per year revenue studio that breaks even and a $320,000 per year studio that generates $80,000 in profit is whether you can upsell editing, production, and consulting services or you are just renting empty rooms by the hour. The business model can work. The assumptions are dangerous, in ways that most people never see coming. Let's start at the beginning. When people say podcast studio, they could be picturing 3 completely different business models. A rental studio, where creators book rooms by the hour, record their own content, and leave. You provide space and equipment. Typical rate, $75 to $200 per hour depending on market and amenities. A production studio, where you not only provide the space but also an engineer, producer, or technician who runs the session, manages audio levels, and ensures quality. You deliver edited, polished episodes ready for distribution. Typical rate, $300 to $800 per episode depending on complexity and editing depth. Or a hybrid membership studio, where regular clients pay monthly retainers for access, block booking, and production support. Think of it like a gym membership model applied to podcast production. For $100 to $2,000 per month per client depending on usage and services. Each model has completely different revenue potential, labor requirements, and scalability. Here is something that surprises people when they first look at this industry. Podcasting exploded over the last decade. As of 2024, there are approximately 3 to 5 million podcasts globally, with roughly 450,000 to 550,000 active podcasts in the United States, meaning they released an episode in the last 90 days. But here is the critical reality. Over 80% of podcasts never make it past episode 10. The vast majority are recorded at home, in bedrooms, closets, or home offices using USB microphones plugged directly into laptops. A creator can build a serviceable home podcast setup for $300 to $800. A Shure SM7B microphone, $400. An audio interface, $150. A mic arm and pop filter, $80. Acoustic foam panels, $60. Free editing software like Audacity or GarageBand. The content quality difference between a $500 home setup and a $2,000 professional studio session is real, but it is not a 4x difference. It is maybe 20% to 30% better audio quality for 400% higher cost. And platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube do not penalize home-recorded content. Audiences care about content quality, guest quality, and consistency far more than whether you recorded in a $100,000 studio or your closet. So the total addressable market for commercial podcast studio services is not the 550,000 active podcasters. It is the 5% to 15% who are earning revenue from their podcast, have sponsors or clients paying for content, or are corporate/brand podcasts with budgets. That is 27,500 to 82,500 potential clients nationally. And they are distributed unevenly, concentrated in New York, Los Angeles, Austin, Nashville, Chicago, and a handful of other media-heavy cities. If you are opening a podcast studio in Tulsa or Boise, your addressable market might be 80 to 200 potential clients total. You are entering a niche industry with limited market depth outside major metros. Before you spend a single dollar, you need a location. Podcast studios have unique real estate requirements. You need sound isolation from external noise. Ground-level spaces near busy roads are terrible. Second-floor spaces in mixed-use buildings are acceptable. Basement or interior spaces with minimal windows are ideal. You need enough square footage for multiple rooms. A single-room studio, 150 to 250 square feet, limits your revenue. You can only serve one client at a time. A two-room studio, 400 to 600 square feet total, allows simultaneous bookings and doubles revenue potential. A three-room studio, 700 to 1,000 square feet, triples capacity but also triples build-out costs. You need client-facing amenities, a waiting area or lounge, bathroom, potentially a small kitchenette or beverage station. Total space requirement, 600 to 1,500 square feet depending on the number of recording rooms. A 900 square foot space in a secondary urban location or creative district rents for $1,800 to $5,000 per month depending on market. Major cities like LA, New York, or Austin, $3,500 to $8,000 per month. Secondary markets, $1,500 to $3,500. Let's call it $3,000 per month, $36,000 annually. Lease terms are typically 3 to 5 years with personal guarantee. First month, last month, security deposit, $9,000 to $15,000 upfront. Now comes the build-out, and this is where costs spiral far beyond what most people anticipate. Soundproofing and acoustic treatment are not the same thing. Soundproofing prevents sound from entering or leaving a room. Acoustic treatment controls sound reflections and resonance inside a room. You need both. Soundproofing a single podcast room to professional standards means building a room within a room. Double-stud walls with resilient channels, acoustic insulation, multiple layers of drywall with green glue damping compound, acoustically sealed doors with drop seals, isolated floating floor or heavy carpet with padding, and acoustic ceiling treatment. Professional soundproofing for 112 by 12 room, $8,000 to $18,000 in materials and labor. For 2 rooms, $16,000 to $36,000. For 3 rooms, $24,000 to $54,000. Many first-time studio owners skip true soundproofing and just install acoustic foam panels, which cost $400 to $1,500 per room but do not actually block external sound. They reduce echo and reverb but do nothing for noise from adjacent spaces, street traffic, HVAC systems, or footsteps above. 6 months after opening, they realize every recording session is interrupted by sirens, car horns, or the business next door playing music. They have to rebuild. They just wasted $30,000 on a build-out that does not work. Interior finishes and branding. Podcast studios sell an experience as much as a service. Clients expect aesthetic spaces that look good on camera for video podcasts. Acoustic panels in custom colors or branded designs, $2,000 to $6,000 per room. LED strip lighting or broadcast lighting, $800 to $2,500 per room. Painted accent walls, signage, furniture, $3,000 to $8,000. Lounge and waiting area, furniture, decor, beverage station, $4,000 to $10,000. HVAC and ventilation. Soundproof rooms have minimal air exchange. Without proper HVAC, they become hot, stuffy, and CO2 saturated after 45 minutes. Whisper quiet HVAC or mini split systems with acoustic ducting, $4,000 to $12,000. Total build-out for a 2-room podcast studio, $40,000 to $95,000 depending on soundproofing quality and finishes. Now, equipment. This is the second largest capital expense and where inexperienced owners either overspend on gear they do not need or underspend and deliver subpar results. Microphones. For professional podcast recording, you need large diaphragm condenser mics or broadcast quality dynamic mics. Shure SM7B, industry standard, $400 each. Electro Voice RE20, $450 each. Rode PodMic, budget option $100 each. Newman U87, premium, $3,600 each. For a two-room studio, you need 4 to 8 microphones depending on whether you accommodate solo hosts or multi-person panels. At mid-tier pricing, $2,000 to $4,500 in microphones. Mic accessories. Boom arms, $80 to $200 each. Shock mounts, $40 to $100 each. Pop filters, $15 to $40 each. For 6 mics, $810 to $2,040. Audio interfaces. Devices that convert analog microphone signals to digital audio for recording. Focusrite Scarlett 18i20, 8 inputs, $500. Universal Audio Apollo Premium, $1,200 to $2,500. Behringer X32, Professional Mixing Console, $2,500 to $3,500. Per room, $600 to $3,500. Headphones. Closed-back studio headphones for guests and hosts to monitor audio. Audio-Technica ADH M50X, $150 per pair. Beyerdynamic DT770 Pro, $180. For 6 to 8 pairs, $1,200 to $1,800. Headphone amplifiers and distribution. To send audio to multiple headphones simultaneously. $150 to $600 per room. Computers. Mac Mini or custom PC for recording and editing. $1,000 to $2,500 per room. Recording software. Pro Tools, Adobe Audition, Logic Pro. $300 to $600 annually in subscriptions or one-time purchase. Video equipment if offering video podcast recording. Cameras, Sony A7 III or Panasonic GH5, $1,500 to $2,500 each. For multi-camera setups, 2 to 4 cameras, $3,000 to $10,000. Lighting, key lights, fill lights, backlights, $1,200 to $4,000 per room. Video switcher or capture cards, $400 to $2,000. Many studios skip video initially, but as of 2024, over 60% of podcasts publish video versions on YouTube. Clients increasingly expect video capability. If you do not offer it, you lose bookings to competitors who do. Furniture and props. Studio desk or table, $300 to $1,200. Chairs, ergonomic and camera-friendly, $150 to $400 each. Branded backdrops, plants, decor, $800 to $2,500 per room. Total equipment for a two-room studio with mid-tier audio and basic video, $18,000 to $45,000. High-end audio and professional multi-camera video, $40,000 to $85,000. Technology and connectivity. Business-grade internet, 500 megabits per second to 1 gigabit per second, $100 to $300 per month. Backup internet connection for redundancy, $60 to $150 per month. Network storage for client files NAS system, $800 to $2,500. Booking and scheduling software, $30 to $150 per month. Security system, cameras, locks, $2,000 to $5,000. Insurance. General liability, property, equipment, $2,500 to $6,000 annually. Permits and business licenses, $500 to $2,000. Pre-opening marketing, website, social media, local outreach, launch promotion, $5,000 to $12,000. Let's add it up. Lease deposits, $12,000. Build-out, $65,000. Equipment, $30,000. Technology and security for $1,000. Insurance and permits for $1,000. Marketing, $8,000. Total startup capital, $123,000 to $180,000 for a two-room studio. Now let's talk about revenue. How does a podcast studio actually make money? Hourly rentals. You charge $100 to $200 per hour for a recording room. A client books 3 hours, records their episode, and leaves. You collect $300 to $600. They handle their own editing and production. The challenge is utilization. A recording room has a maximum of 12 to 14 bookable hours per day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. That is 60 to 70 hours per week, 260 to 300 hours per month per room. In a competitive market with limited demand, you might book 30% to 50% of available hours in year one. A single room at 40% utilization, 120 hours per month, at $120 per hour, generates $14,400 monthly, $172,800 annually. 2 rooms at 40% utilization, $28,800 monthly, $345,600 annually. That sounds incredible, but you will not hit 40% utilization in year one. More realistic is 15% to 25% in year one, 30% to 45% in year two, 50% to 65% in year three if you execute well. At 20% utilization, 2 rooms generate $11,520 per month, $138,240 annually. Production services. Instead of just renting the room, you offer full-service production. You record, edit, add intro/outro music, mix and master, and deliver a finished episode. You charge $400 to $1,200 per episode depending on length and complexity. A client with a weekly podcast, 52 episodes per year at $600 per episode, is worth $31,200 annually. If you have 8 to 12 recurring production clients, you are generating $250,000 to $375,000 annually. The challenge is labor. Editing a 60-minute podcast episode takes 2 to 6 hours depending on quality level and how much cleanup is required. At $600 per episode and 4 hours of editing, you are billing $150 per hour. But if you are doing the editing yourself, you are working 16 to 24 hours per week just on editing plus managing bookings, client communication, and studio operations. If you hire an editor, you pay them $25 to $50 per hour, $100 to $200 per episode. Your margin on production services drops from 85% to 60% to 70%. Membership and retainers. You offer monthly packages. $800 per month for 8 hours of studio time plus light editing. $1,500 per month for unlimited studio access plus full production on 4 episodes. $2,500 per month for full-service concierge podcasting, recording, editing, distribution, and social media content creation. Memberships create predictable recurring revenue, the holy grail of service businesses. 10 clients at $1,200 per month average, $144,000 annually. The challenge is delivering consistent value. If a client pays $1,200 per month but only uses 3 hours of studio time and light editing worth $400 in standalone pricing, they churn after 3 months. You have to structure tiers carefully to ensure clients feel they are getting value while you maintain margin. Ancillary services. Podcast consulting, $150 to $300 per hour. Audiogram creation for social media, $50 to $150 per episode. Show notes and transcription, $75 to $200 per episode. Distribution and hosting management, $50 to $150 per month per show. These services add 10% to 25% to total revenue if positioned well. Let's model year 1 revenue for a 2-room studio in a mid-sized market. Room rentals. 20% utilization, 120 hours per month across 2 rooms, at $130 average, $15,600 per month. Production clients. 4 clients at $550 per episode, 4 episodes per month each, $8,800 per month. Membership clients. 3 clients at $900 average, $2,700 per month. Ancillary services. $1,200 per month. Total monthly revenue, $28,300. Annual revenue, $339,600. That looks strong. Now let's talk about costs. Rent, $36,000 annually. Labor. If you are owner-operated, doing all recording sessions, editing, client management, and operations yourself, paid labor is minimal. But you are working 50 to 70 hours per week. If you hire, you need a studio manager or engineer to run sessions, $40,000 to $55,000 annually. An editor or two for production services, $35,000 to $60,000 annually for part-time or contract work. Total labor for a staffed operation, $75,000 to $115,000. For owner-operated with contract editing support, $25,000 to $40,000. Utilities, internet, phone, $3,600 to $6,000 annually. Equipment maintenance and replacement. Microphones fail, cables wear out, computers need upgrading, software needs renewing. Budget 5% to 8% of equipment value annually, $1,500 to $4,000. Insurance, $3,500 annually. Marketing and advertising. To maintain client flow, you need ongoing marketing. Content marketing, SEO, local ads, partnerships with podcasters and influencers, $1,000 to $3,000 per month, $12,000 to $36,000 annually. Software and subscriptions. Booking system, CRM, editing software, cloud storage, $200 to $500 per month, $2,400 to $6,000 annually. Cleaning and maintenance, $150 to $400 per month, $1,800 to $4,800 annually. Depreciation and equipment replacement reserve. Your $30,000 in equipment will be worth $8,000 to $12,000 in 5 years. Technology evolves. Budget $4,000 to $8,000 annually for future upgrades. Miscellaneous, office supplies, coffee and snacks for clients. Minor repairs, $2,000 to $4,000 annually. Let's add it up at $339,600 annual revenue, owner-operated with contract editing support, rent, $36,000 labor, contract editors, $32,000 utilities and internet, $4,800 maintenance, $2,500 insurance, $3,500 marketing, $24,000 software, $4,000 cleaning, $2,400 equipment reserve, $6,000 miscellaneous, $3,000 total operating expenses, $118,200. Operating profit before owner compensation, $221,400. You are working 55 to 65 hours per week running sessions, managing clients, handling booking, doing some editing. At $221,400, you are earning roughly $65 to $75 per hour for your time. That is solid income for skilled creative services work. But that assumes you hit $339,600 in year one revenue, which requires aggressive client acquisition and 20% plus utilization immediately. Now let's talk about what kills podcast studios. Market size limitations. You open a beautiful 2-room studio in a city of 400,000 people. You do the math. There are maybe 150 to 300 active local podcasters. Of those, 80% record at home and have no interest in paying for studio time. That leaves 30 to 60 potential clients. You convert 12 of them to occasional renters and 3 to recurring production clients. That is $8,000 to $12,000 per month in revenue, $96,000 to $144,000 annually. Your operating expenses are $110,000 to $140,000. You are break-even or losing money. You thought you could attract clients from 90 minutes away. Nobody drives 90 minutes to record a podcast when they can do it at home. Competition from home setups. A potential client does the math. Your studio charges $150 per hour, 3 hours per session, $450 per episode. They release weekly 52 episodes, $23,400 annually. Or they spend $1,200 on a home setup, record unlimited episodes, and get 75% of the quality. They choose the home setup. You lost the client before they ever contacted you. Technology commoditization. When you opened in 2020, professional podcast production required expertise and expensive gear. By 2024, AI-powered editing tools like Descript, Adobe Podcast, and Riverside.fm allow amateurs to produce near-professional quality with minimal skill. A creator records on Riverside.fm, $20 per month, uses AI to remove filler words and background noise, and publishes episodes that sound 85% as good as your $600 production service. Why would they pay you? Client churn. A client signs up for your monthly membership, $1,200 per month. They produce episodes for 6 months, realize they are not growing an audience or making money, and quit podcasting entirely. You lose $1,200 per month in recurring revenue. You replace them with a new client who also quits after 5 months. You are constantly churning through clients, spending time and money on acquisition, never building stable long-term revenue. Equipment obsolescence. You spent $35,000 on equipment in 2022. By 2026, new microphones, interfaces, and cameras offer significantly better quality at lower prices. Clients notice your gear is outdated. Competitors open with newer equipment. You have to spend $15,000 to $25,000 upgrading to stay competitive, but your original equipment has almost no resale value. Utilization stagnation. You projected growing from 20% utilization in year 1 to 50% in year 3. But you plateau at 32% because market demand is finite. You have 77 hours booked per month across 2 rooms. Revenue is $200,000 annually. Expenses are $135,000. You are netting $65,000 while working 60 hours per week. That is $20 per hour. You could make more working a regular job without the capital risk and stress. Scope creep and underpricing. A client books a recording session $150 for 1 hour. During the session, they ask for technical help, guest mic setup, audio troubleshooting. The session runs 90 minutes, but you only charged for 1 hour. Then they email asking for a quick edit. Just remove the intro mistake. You spend 45 minutes editing for free because you do not want to lose the client. You are constantly delivering more value than you are charging for. Your effective hourly rate drops from $150 to $85. Lease and build-out sunk costs. Your 3-year lease expires. The landlord wants to raise rent by 35%. You have $70,000 in build-out and equipment that cannot be moved economically. You either pay the increase, destroying your margins, or you walk away and lose your entire build-out investment. Let's talk about the studio owners who build sustainable businesses. They do not rely solely on hourly rentals. They build productized services. Podcast launch package, $4,500. Includes strategy session, 6 recorded episodes, full editing and production, cover art, and distribution setup. They sell outcomes, not hours. They niche down. Instead of podcast studio for everyone, they specialize. The studio for financial advisors launching thought leadership podcasts. They target a specific industry, understand their unique needs, and charge premium rates because they deliver industry-specific value. They build partnerships. They partner with podcast agencies, marketing firms, and corporate communications teams who need production capacity but do not want to build in-house studios. They become the white-label production arm for 3 to 5 agencies. Each agency sends $3,000 to $8,000 per month in recurring work. They diversify revenue beyond podcasting. They offer voiceover recording for commercials, audiobook narration studios, YouTube content creation spaces, corporate video recording. A recording studio is a recording studio. The more use cases you serve, the higher your utilization. They operate lean. They start with 1 room, not 3. They run it to 60% to 70% utilization, then add a second room. They do not overbuild capacity ahead of demand. They embrace remote production. They offer remote recording services where clients record from home using Riverside.fm or Squadcast, and the studio provides editing, production, and distribution. Lower overhead, higher margins, geographic reach beyond local market. And they build media brands themselves. They launch their own podcasts and YouTube channels showcasing their expertise, attracting clients organically instead of relying on paid advertising. Let's run the numbers 2 ways. Best case scenario. You open a single-room studio in a major metro, Austin or Nashville. You invest $85,000. You niche hard, focusing on serving local startups and tech companies launching branded podcasts. You build partnerships with 2 marketing agencies who send you $4,500 to $7,000 per month in production work. You have 6 direct clients on monthly retainers averaging $1,100. You do occasional hourly rentals adding $2,500 to $4,000 per month. Year 2 performance. Agency partnerships, $72,000 monthly retainers, $79,200 hourly rentals, $38,000 ancillary services, $22,000 total revenue, $211,200 operating expenses, owner-operated, rent, $30,000 contract editing, $28,000 utilities, $4,500 insurance, $3,000 marketing, $15,000 software, $3,500 other, $8,000 total, $92,000 operating profit, $119,200. You are working 45 to 50 hours per week, earning $119,200 annually, recovering your initial investment in under 1 year. By year 4, you add a second room and scale to $285,000 in revenue, $165,000 in profit. Realistic scenario. You open a 2-room studio in a secondary market, population 350,000. You invest $145,000. You market broadly, podcast studio for all creators. Client acquisition is slow. By month 12, you have 3 monthly retainer clients at $750 average, 8 occasional rental clients booking 1 to 2 times per month, and 2 small production clients. Year 1 performance. Monthly retainers, $27,000 hourly rentals, $52,000 production clients, $31,000 ancillary, $8,000 total revenue, $118,000 operating expenses, owner-operated, rent, $36,000 contract editing, $18,000 utilities, $5,000 insurance, $3,500 marketing, $22,000 software, $4,000 other, $9,500 total, $98,000 operating profit, $20,000. You are working 55 hours per week, earning $20,000 annually, or $6.99 per hour for your time. You invested $145,000. By year 2, revenue grows to $165,000, expenses to $110,000, profit to $55,000. You are still earning only $19 per hour after 2 years. Year 3, a competitor opens with newer equipment and better marketing. Your revenue plateaus at $172,000. You are exhausted. You try to sell. No buyers. You close, sell equipment for $22,000, lose your build-out, and walk away having lost $80,000 plus over 3 years. The difference between those outcomes is market selection, niche positioning, partnership development, and service model. The podcast studio industry is small, fragmented, and difficult to quantify, but estimated at $150 to $300 million annually in the U.S. There are studio owners in LA and New York running multi-room facilities generating $500,000 to $1.2 million in revenue and netting $150,000 to $350,000 annually. But the median podcast studio generates $85,000 to $180,000 in annual revenue, operates on 20% to 35% net margins after owner labor, and requires 50 to 65 hours per week of owner involvement. The people who succeed understand this is a productized service business, not a real estate play. They sell packages and outcomes, not hours and rooms. They build recurring revenue through retainers and partnerships. They niche down to own a specific market segment. They operate lean and scale cautiously. The people who fail believe the creator economy hype. They see Joe Rogan's studio and think everyone wants that. They overbuild 3 rooms when demand supports 1. They underprice to compete with home setups. They rely on walk-in traffic in markets too small to support them. They do not differentiate, offering podcasting for everyone and attracting no one. The microphones capture audio automatically once you press record. The software saves files to the cloud. But the studio does not run itself.